What's happening, chaps? Welcome to Chaps Chat with me, Dom.
Me, Ollie.
And we've got our friend Leo here today from Hey Zooma. Oh, fuck. Why did I say Hey Zooma again?
It's my Instagram handle. So
Yeah,
it's confusing.
from Zooma.
No,
Zooma.
good.
Cool. 3, 2, 1. What's happening, chaps? Welcome to Chaps Chat with me, Dom.
Me, Ollie.
And our friend that's with us today, Leo from Zooma. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
No, it's fantastic. We're glad to have you here as well, and obviously think it's going to be quite an interesting conversation today, speaking about the Zooma brand and some of the conversations you've been having on your side. So I guess initially it'd be good just to get a bit of an overview on what Zooma is and a little bit about who you are as well.
Yeah, sure thing. So Zooma is a brand that I launched a few months ago. It's a nutritional supplement brand. It's very early stage, so right now I only have one product, which is like a nutritional supplement gummy containing a herb called ashwagandha, which helps.
I know about that.
Yeah, it helps reduce stress and anxiety. I don't. How do you know about it?
So
There's
I've
different
come,
applications.
I've come across, so I'm quite into like herbalist stuff. So I've come across it as like an Ayurvedic medicine.
Yeah.
So I think I actually take it in like a block pill that I take every day. So yeah, but I think I've seen it mostly been using that circles to help the immune system. Sure, it gets a bit more technical than that in terms of what it does, but.
Yeah, well, it does have a number of different applications, like immunity, stress and anxiety relief is a big one, improved sleep as well. And yeah, so mine comes in a nice little gummy, which is pretty tasty. And yeah, so that's the product that I've been selling. And then in addition to that, I've been doing quite a lot of work on social media where I go out and speak to young people around sort of topics about mental health and well-being as well.
Nice. So with that, do you just go out and meet these people on the street, or is it in do you go to universities, or where do you meet them?
Yeah, so initially it was the street, and I discovered that streets aren't that good because when you're in the street, people are moving, and if they're moving, they generally don't want to stop.
Yeah.
So my strategy was then to find people sitting down, because if they're sitting down, they can't avoid you. I'm like, well, you're obviously sitting down, you're not doing anything. And universities actually eventually was where I ended up because I wanted to speak to young people, and the best places to find young people of the age that we wanted to chat to are at universities.
Cool. But it's only a few months then, Zooma brand is when you started it.
Yeah, so well, I launched the product and the brand 3 months ago, and was working on it a couple of months prior to that.
Oh, but where did the whole idea come from?
So it kind of like, it doesn't have like a really profound origin story like some brands at least claim to have. This was just kind of, it sort of emerged from lots of random stuff. But I was working at another supplement company, and that company, it was a fun work. I enjoyed it, but the company wasn't doing particularly well. So I kind of took what I learned from that and decided to implement it myself with my own company. And I always knew that I wanted to do something that had a positive social purpose as well. So the idea was to marry the product, which is these like supplements, with a mission, which is to help, spark a discussion about mental health.
Nice. I think obviously well done for starting up your own business for one, because it's difficult to do, and obviously what your business is great. Obviously when it is benefiting people and helping people, I think that's where you get your satisfaction that you're probably doing the right thing in the right way in your business. So yeah, it's amazing that you're doing that. And what is the sort of future looking like? What is your plan for this year?
Yeah, well, the future is uncertain, but I think in a good way. One thing I've learned from starting your own company is that it's chaotic, and like you have to try 100 different things until you find what sticks, and you have no way of really making like a clear plan. You can set goals. Setting goals is very important, but having a step-by-step plan, invariably like that will change. And so probably I'm getting a sense of where I want to take the brand. I know I want to expand the line of supplements. The sales have started to move forward, which is good. In terms of the brand direction, I don't know, like the mental health stuff is really good, and it's really important, but it's also a very specific, difficult topic, as you guys would know. And the products that I'm selling are kind of like fun, sweet, like gummy type products. And one of the questions I've been asking myself recently is whether or not those two concepts go together. So I might take it in a bit of a different direction, not sure yet.
Yeah, I think obviously with what you're selling is a supplement, which is good for your well-being. So I think that whether you maybe take the back step off mental health focus, it's still gonna be within your brand anyway. Definitely. Because it's obviously good for you. So I think, yeah, I mean, like all round, just your well-being, physical, mentally, is obviously what your product does.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's always going to sort of be in line anyway. But I completely understand that it is a difficult sort of subject to talk about all the time. And as we know on the podcast, it's like not everyone wants to hear it, right? But, you know, it's important that people do hear it. That's the main thing. And obviously, once you get that, like Dom was saying earlier, you get that enjoyment out of it, and, you know, you do it for the right reason, which is obviously what you're doing to help people. I think that your brand's just going to go in the right direction naturally. So, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Do you guys think that you need to have personal experience with mental health in order to be a voice in that discussion?
No.
No, by no means. I think then you would lose a very big, the best way to put it, perspective on the whole subject, because I mean, if the only people who are speaking about mental health are ones that are suffering from it, I mean, like, that may not be the best scenario, just because I know from personal circumstances that sometimes you're blind to your own issues when you're dealing with mental health, and I think some of the people we've spoken with are kind of mirrored certain scenarios that are similar to that in their own way as well. So, and also I just think it's like, yes, like for me, for example, when I suffered from depression, it was something I was dealing with, but it was something also that the people around me were dealing with as well, who may have not been going through issues then. So I think a big theme across mental health as a whole is inclusivity, and getting an understanding of mental health the same way as everyone else getting an understanding of each other. I think is a way or a solution to help people when they're in a scenario that's maybe not that good.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely right on that front. I think one of the questions I've been asking myself though is whether or not, like, if you're going to be the face of a mental health brand, in order for that brand to feel compelling and really connect with people, you know, I've been asking myself, you know, am I the right person for that? I don't know if there's an answer to that question.
I think it's more, mental health can happen to anyone, right? That's the thing. So it's not something where you have to have a particular body or mind to be able to experience it. It can come at any stage in your life, and I think being more aware of it, whether you've been through bad things or suffered with mental health in the past, just being aware of that is educational and knowledgeable, and obviously a good thing to let people know, look, when that does happen, this is how it might feel, but this is how you can better yourself. So I just look at it like what we do is like it's an essential tool for people, and yeah, I look at it more on the educational side.
Do you know what? I'll give you honest truth for that. If with the brand, there'll be some people that will see that and they may have that thought, just because, I'm not saying that'll be a large percentage of people, but that people are always going to have judgment across something. But for me personally, someone who's been through mental health issues, like that, I wouldn't, when I see a product or someone who's trying to help someone, I would look at that as the same as a doctor. Your doctor may not have mental health issues himself, but he's invested in trying to help people. And as long as you're enjoying what you're doing and you know that the mission and the reason why you're doing it is right, then that's all I would worry about. It doesn't matter what you do, like really with anything. Especially if it's a brand, something like that, there's always going to be people that critique that in their own way, and naturally that may be something that comes up for some people, but I think that would be quite a short-sighted view to have, because the reason you created a brand, and not just a brand, you're going around and actually speaking to people, and you don't know what that one conversation does for someone. You know, you might speak to a person who's not actually felt comfortable enough to go out and speak to someone else themselves, but doesn't know you, has just seen you, you've asked how they are, and they might feel a little bit more relaxed and comfortable to actually have a conversation with you about that. And you literally don't know what you could have actually saved someone from doing something or causing themselves harm. You never know that scenario. So I would say, in my sense, that from my side, it seems like you're doing a lot more than certain brands would do anyway, who are just, because let's be honest, most brands we see out there now, who are like big brands that we know, they weren't started with the view of that. Similar to Matador, who you know as well, who we had on the podcast. It's more they've got down the line now. It's like DE&I. Now it's an initiative. They all want to look like they're someone who sings that song because it's become beneficial to their business. But you've actually founded this on that basis. So for me, as someone who's quite passionate about the subject as well, I would congratulate you for that, because there's not a lot of people doing it out there. So if you did get that from other people, not to be rude, but at the end of the day,
Can we swear, by the way?
Yeah. Fuck.
Fuck yes.
No, we're prone to swearing in here.
I
feel like when you swear, it's like you let out your voice, you know?
But like this, trust me, it's just like that. Do you know what? You get me on a bit of a rant now, because no one's ever happy. Like in the world, like people just love to critique things, you know. And it's like, so at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to be satisfied with what things are, and like.
you've took the step to do it, mate. Yeah, that's more than
Trust me.
most people. All right, so whatever you feel is right in your journey, whether it's mental health now, physical health in the future, whatever it is, you've invested in it, you put your time in it, you've created something, and it's your brand. Do you know what I mean? So listen, not everyone has to buy your product, but most people will. And the people that don't, obviously, are idiots.
I like gummies. Do you know what I mean? To be
Who
fair,
don't like gummies?
They're all full of sugar. Do you know what I mean? At the end, none of them got ashwagandha in them. So like actually, like that. My for sweets, like Haribo's are my favourite. So it'd actually be nice to be able to have a like. I know you get sugar-free ones, right? But they're still not good for you at the end of the day. So it'd be good. Be nice to have like that type of sweet, which I know I'm not going to feel guilty about having afterwards when I've eaten 2 packets.
So what is it then? Is it just one, like, do you sell them singly, or does it come in like a package?
It comes in a little packet. There's 30 gummies in a packet, and it's not exactly like Haribo in the sense that you just eat the packet in one go. You have it like one a day to build up the consistency. So it lasts for 1 month, a pack.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. So is it a thing where you can get people who like subscribe on a monthly basis and it's automatically sent out to them?
Yeah. I do have that technology at my disposal.
Shopify, yeah. Fair play. No, I mean, is it quite quick to set up on Shopify?
It's
like drop shipping and stuff like that before. I've come across it.
Yeah, no, it can be if you do the right thing. I've made every mistake you could possibly make, and one of those mistakes was to invest heavily in building a website, and now the website barely accounts for any of my sales. Most of my sales are like directly to businesses when I go out and meet them. So you can do it quickly. I didn't. I made a mistake. Wouldn't recommend doing what I did.
Well, you've got to make the mistakes to learn, right? Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, well, at least you've been through that, because down the line there might come a time where you might have to go through as you scale as a business, you have to make that type of website with maybe that much investment. You would have been through it before.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah, so
if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. That's it.
That's it,
innit?
God knows who all made them. Do you know what I mean? But,
plenty of them.
Yeah, they're still rolling in sometimes. But yeah, like, because I found what quite not astonishing, but like I know you said you spoke with over 200 people now, and it's like, for us, like we spoke with like around maybe like 20 people, like 20, 30 people for the podcast, and like my view of and knowledge of mental health massively increased from that, and kind of, I guess, getting to know people a little bit as well. So is there, like, from all the people you met, which are young people, which for us is an area that we have focused on a little bit, but maybe not as much as we'd like to, is there any kind of like key takeaways or kind of trends that you found from the people that you spoke with?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A few things, actually. I would say there are differences between boys and girls, and also similarities as well. I think some of the main differences are gender-based. Girls, a lot of the discussions revolved around like insecurities, particularly in relation to body image, which I don't think is probably that surprising to anyone to hear that. And a lot of like comparing themselves to other people as well. I think one of the insecurities that they are faced with is, how their peers are doing and what they're doing, and the sort of disparity between that. So that's girls, and then boys is really interesting, because actually what I personally feel is much more in line with like what I've seen with the boys as well, which is a lot of them are very focused on like failure and success. And also it's worth pointing out here that not all of these conversations are explicitly mental health focused. The conversations that I'm having with people sometimes revolve around mental health, but also generally just revolve around their own mental well-being. And I think for boys, one of the most pronounced things is like a feeling of like not doing as well as they want to do, and really wanting to make a success out of their own lives, and to make something of themselves, but also struggling with that. And that's definitely something that I've like experienced a lot as well.
Yeah. And just to kind of break that down, I guess on the girl side first. I mean, from your side, obviously, some people in general, I feel a lot look to other people a lot these days and kind of compare themselves against them. Is there any reason that you think that's like a prevalent issue at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I think it would just have to be social media, which is obviously not like an original answer. We've all heard that before, but I think that's probably one of the main things. Like, most people now exist half in the real world and half in a virtual world, and the virtual world in which they exist is highly curated. So you're just seeing the best sides of everyone else. So it's really hard not to be comparative and not to think that you're like insufficient in relation to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered this subject quite a lot on the pod because it is obviously something that affects people's mental health. Is always comparison and feeling like you're not in the right position in life because someone else has bought a house at 25 and maybe you're not there yet, or people are married and things like this, and it's a setback. People just think, why is my life not moving? How theirs is moving.
Yeah.
Especially like financially, as you said, it captures your best moments.
Yeah.
So when people are, financially good in that moment, of course they're taking a picture of that moment because they want everyone to know, I am doing good.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like,
I find that mindset, like, I know that's probably you probably find more people with the mindset than what I'm going to say, but for me, that's mad. Like, I wouldn't, if anything, in the moments I enjoy the most or anything like that, I never take pictures. I'm so in the moment. Do you know what I mean? So for me to do that, to just kind of show to elsewhere, like that, I don't know. That's something that doesn't really resonate with me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's same for me as well. Maybe for a slightly different reason, in the sense that I feel like by constantly sharing your like good moments and hiding away your bad moments, for me personally, I just would end up feeling bad in myself because I know that like what I'm presenting to other people, it isn't real. And I think like with doing the business, actually, it relates a lot to that, because actually what I've realized starting my own company is that throughout most of my life up until now, I've just been not like intentionally like a bullshitter, but like as in you don't create things that are of value. Like when you're at school and you're at university, like you're doing work, you're writing essays, and if I look back on that work, it's not actually providing real value. The essays I wrote at uni weren't, I might have even done well in those essays, but I don't think they were providing real world value. And actually like presenting a side of yourself that isn't real, like for me is the same as just like not really contributing anything that's of value.
Yeah, because I can understand that, to be fair, because I mean, I think not for university for me, but we've all put our time into things that maybe not seen value from and not helped other people in a sense. I think like the biggest value we can give is always to ourselves. Like just generally, if you look after yourself, then you tend to be not that type of person, but looking after yourself allows you to then go and care about other people.
Definitely.
If you're not good yourself, if you're like 70% yourself, how can you go and give advice or tell other people what to do in some circumstances? Because like at the same time, it's like I would feel kind of hypocritical sometimes in that circumstance. And unless it's through like lived experience, that's a different scenario in that sense. But it's quite challenging, and it's difficult for just people as a whole, because everyone's on social media. So it's like you might be taken away from your friends or certain circumstances if you come off those. So, but it would just like, I think what advice I would give to people is like follow stuff that's positive for you, but which is difficult if you're just feeling a type of way about pictures. But if that's the way it makes you feel, then a real, I guess, a logical, conscious decision would be to delete it.
Yeah. I think another interesting thing that I found was that there was a difference between older people and younger people, because I have spoken to some older people as well, quite a few, and I mean, the first most striking difference is that it's much harder to actually speak to older people. They think that you're going to try and like mug them or something, so they just tell you to fuck off. But the more underlying like difference actually, which was quite interesting, is that when you ask people questions that are deep questions, having deep conversations, generally, when I was speaking to older people, it felt like their responses came from deep within them.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was chatting to younger people, not all young people, but a lot of them, it felt like they were just saying things that they had read on social media, basically.
100%. I think that like when we started this, like we said, honesty is key here, yeah? And like however we feel in any conversation that we have is how we say it, and that's it. So that's like, like we swear on people because we don't give a shit, yeah?
Yeah.
Because that's just how we are, because this is just normal life. So I completely understand that. Like we've had young people on here who are fairly young, some of them, and like we've had older people on here who are in their 50s and things.
Yeah.
I feel like when you are obviously at a certain age, which is older, you've got more lived experience of things. And when they was young, around our ages, they didn't have no social media, no shit like that. But like they all learnt from themselves. Like none of this stuff was accessible to them.
Yeah.
So I feel like that sort of side of things gives them the more like realness of it. But obviously, thank God for like social media in a positive way, because it does like, like look at your business. Social media probably helps massively with that, yeah? Getting your brand out there, or like having these conversations people can listen in without being seen that they're watching it, but they're still taking it in. So there's positives and there's not so positives on social media, but use it as a key. to try to do good
Yeah,
things.
use it as a tool. Like,
Yeah.
there's loads of positive stuff. There's as much positive stuff, or maybe even more than there is negative stuff. So,
yeah.
but then it's like, if it comes down to just like looking at, I mean, at the end of the day, we're kind of responsible for our own emotions. So if you look at something, or if you see like it's like walking down the street, basically seeing someone in a Lambo and feeling bad because that person's got a Lambo and you ain't. Like, if that's the way you feel, then I guess it's a kind of growth. From my perspective, it'd be kind of a growth in your own kind of mentality to kind of learn that, well, number one, materialistic stuff doesn't really matter anyway. So if you're so lost in the material things chasing that, then you're going to find it really difficult to just come out of that scenario. Like, I think we can be quite guilty of kind of looking past, like, especially in a country like where we live, England, like everything we have already, and like how it could always be worse. Like that, like that little sentence there has helped me out so much across my life. Like, funny enough, our next guest that we're going to have on, this person that actually told me, he was like, it could always be worse. And when you think that, even in your worst situations, it could be, you know, like there's people in the middle of a mine in the middle of the desert mining by hand now to get rock to send us so we can have batteries in our phone. You know what I'm saying? So when you start bringing these things into perspective, like, it should let those challenges that people may have with seeing other people maybe doing things that they want to do fall away, just because they're quite insignificant in the big scale of things. But naturally, when it's to do with us in the immediate sense, because I used to be like that. I used to look at other people and feel like I'm jealous when I was a kid, you know, of certain things, because I think we all do. But yeah, like when you get to a point of growth and it's kind of, you've moved away from that, you'll feel better in yourself. But like I would say also, if people just have a conversation with someone that you trust as well, if it's something that's really like getting to you that much, just be like, look, is this actually something that I should be worrying about? Like, I thought I'd have this and this by this time, I don't have it. And I guarantee you, whoever you speak to is probably, even though they could be going through the same thing, if you have a logical conversation, they're probably going to be like, well, no, in the big scale of things, that doesn't matter. Like, your family loves you, like, you've got a job that you enjoy, or you've got a job, like, some people, like, not everyone enjoys their jobs. Like, there are people who would be gasping to have a job like us. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, so it's just
be grateful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I think it's just about like practicing gratitude. Like, that is something you just have to do consistently. What you said about saying it, you know, it could always be worse. Like, actually just reminding yourself of that constantly and being grateful for what you have is important. Do you guys read any like Stoic philosophy at all?
That's really weird you say that. So I'm reading Marcus Aurelius' Meditations at the moment, yeah.
So that's what the Stoics believe, memento mori. So they used to imagine that they would wake up tomorrow dead. Well, not wake up tomorrow. And you can always die. And just constantly reflecting on your own mortality and, you know, reflecting on the fact that you're lucky enough to be existing, like, let alone not even things like have a good job or have a nice car, but the fact that you have like a sensory existence, the fact that I can like touch and smell and taste, like that, like intrinsically is so cool. And it's really hard to remind yourself of that, like to really come to terms with like how amazing it is just to be conscious. So I think practicing gratitude and reminding yourself of that constantly is really a good thing.
100%, because it's like, when you think about it, the most basic things, like you said, like this touch, smell, they're like, no one can tell you how we can do that, or how. Is that not more amazing than like a Bugatti? You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like, that's amazing. Like, well, if you had to be without one of the two, which one would you be without? At the end of the day,
like, look, like some people, you know, aren't fortunate enough to even have sight or hear things, and it's like they've never seen anything like from birth, and it's like imagine like you would, if you didn't have any sight, the only thing that you would ever wish for in your life is to have sight.
And it's something we take for granted every day.
And imagine it just went like that next day, you'd be like, oh shit. Like,
do you think that's what people, I don't know if that's what people like that would think, or maybe initially
100%, but would you not like be like, what is it that you're seeing that I can't, like what does life look like? Like, imagine.
Don't you think that would go after a bit though? Because I don't know.
I don't know. I think that you would get used to it, definitely. But I think there's nothing you would wish for more than to be able to see.
I feel like maybe like as a kid you wouldn't understand it, but once you get to an adult stage and like you start, you know, like even like listening to people's stories. Oh yeah, I seen this the other day and things, and it's like, what? Like, what would that look like?
If
imagine it, you wouldn't even know how to imagine things because you've never seen.
But so I think
you wouldn't even know like what
in
something
your mind's
looks
eye,
like.
because you can just, I'll sit and visualise like what. Oh, that's fucked my mind up.
Yeah.
That's
true. Imagine, because you've never seen nothing, you wouldn't be able to imagine anything. Like, how would you know? Your brain wouldn't even know what anything looks like to be able to create a picture for you. It'd be fucked. Like,
So
but
like I think like an interesting like a turn on that. I think that yes, if you existed in this world and you were blind in this world and you could hear people talking about what it was like to see, I think then you would really want to. But actually, if that blind person didn't know that everyone else could see, and maybe they existed in a world of blind people, or they just didn't realize that there was such a thing called vision, like would it matter to them? I would say no, probably not. Like I would say their level of happiness would be the same as anyone else's.
Yeah, 100%. I think like it's gone a little bit. Yeah, like obviously, of course, like it's terrible like that, obviously. But as you said, look, if that person's happy within himself, that's the key thing. That's the main thing.
I just want to give a bit because I've realised I was like, I don't know if they would like really care about seeing or not, but just give you context to that. Like, which is this is what I experience is nowhere near to that, right? But I'm colourblind, so I know I don't see colours the same as anyone else sees them. And then like now you can buy glasses, wherever you can see them at is. I haven't done that, but it's never that's never been a thing for me to really care about. Emails there. It's obviously a big step away from actually not having your sight, but that was kind of my thought in why I said that. Just like it might be the case of like you're just so used to it after a while. It's just not really something that comes to mind, you know. Because if you were there reminding yourself of that every day, then that probably would put you in a bad mindset. Do you know what I mean?
It's just acceptance of who you are, and I think the most important thing in that scenario would be like who's around you, your family, and things to remind you, look, okay, but you're still you. Like you're still a good person. Like things are okay. You're still going to have a good life. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think, I'm not sure. Until you're in that scenario, you wouldn't know, would you? And, you know, obviously, touch wood.
But yeah, got a little bit sidetracked there.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
No, but I think in terms of, like I know going back to kind of all the young people you've spoken with, like, God, like 200 is a lot of people, but that must be... Like I know we were speaking about a little bit before the podcast, but that must be quite tiring. Like they were, because especially listening to other people's issues can sometimes take a bit of a toll as well. Like, I think before when I always felt that when I was younger and I was in kind of bad place, and I would talk to family about like how like I wasn't doing so well. I would see that it's kind of taking a little toll on them. So I mean, how do you kind of stay? I know it's not negative to stuff that you're hearing, but does it ever kind of get to yourself a little bit just from kind of hearing that other people aren't doing so well?
It definitely does. I think you go through different stages of it. I think the first time you do it, I've been fortunate enough to have a relatively stable, by like comparison, you know, life, particularly compared to the people that I've been speaking with. And some of the stuff I was hearing was difficult. It's not stuff that I was unaware of, but I hadn't really had these conversations firsthand with people. That's the first stage. And then the next stage is like, another stage would be you've spoken to 20 people in one day. This is like your, fifth or sixth conversation about someone experiencing serious like anxiety or depression. And at that point, I was saying this to you earlier, like you can start to feel exhausted, your eyes glaze over a little bit. And it's a really weird thing. And you almost become a little bit desensitized to it. And that's an uncomfortable feeling because suddenly you snap back into the conversation that you're having and realize, you really need to give this person the sincerity that they're kind of giving me.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest, there's another... earlier when I was doing it, there was something else I experienced as well, which I'm not proud of, and I was very swift to change, which was, without even realising it, I began to judge the conversations in my head based on how good that was going to look on social media. And I found myself, in one day thinking, like, God, this entire day, all I've been wanting is to chat to someone with, like, a really serious problem. And I was like, that's fucked up. And like I was very quick to like nip that in the bud, and I was like, I can't, you can't think like that. I felt bad about that. And so you go through quite a lot of different stages actually.
Well, it's good to be aware of yourself to that extent. Do you know what I mean? Because not a lot of people would be. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like at the end of the day, like we all think things are fucked up sometimes. Like that's just that. Like if anyone says they don't, it's a lie. Do you know what I'm saying? Just because we're humans, we're like we take everything
right now. Imagine you guys naked.
We haven't filmed that episode yet. But no, but like, it's good to be that self-aware, but it can be difficult sometimes. And I think like even just like scientifically, right? Like I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a mental health condition where if people are, because naturally if people have mental health history in their family, you can be a bit more susceptible to certain issues. But like because I've got an uncle with schizophrenia, so like kind of when I had mental health issues, it always made me think like, okay, is that something that could be down for me down the line, like sort of thing. But if you're actually from hanging around, not hanging around for the wrong word, but from spending time and being in the company of someone who suffers from schizophrenia, if you have traits yourself, there's actually a medical condition where people can get schizophrenia themselves. Not catching it or anything like that, right? But more in the sense if they have those traits. Just I think it's maybe no, it's not Stockholm syndrome. It's something syndrome. But I was literally watching a podcast on it the other day, and that's a very extreme level of what we just said there. But I think sometimes you do have to be kind of self-aware as well, just from kind of like just it's because at the end of the day, it's not negative issues that you're dealing with, but it's like you're hearing negative stuff all the time isn't great. It's like being on a call centre and like being on complaints and people just complaining to you.
Well, you know what? I think the most extreme version of that, which just sounds horrific to me, is the job of being like a moderator, like a graphic moderator on a social media platform. There are people like for like Facebook, for instance, who have to like every day watch thousands of videos that people have reported, and it's videos of child porn, like murder, like violence. And that to me is just surely the worst job you could possibly think of doing.
It was like one of those lab Bibles, 30, you know when they do like a 10 minutes with someone, it's like black background, they have one person or two. They had a moderator.
I think I've seen that. Yeah. It's brutal.
It's like, it's like...
I don't know about that. Yeah, that's...
It's not going to be any like...
How do you shut your mind off from that? Like, as you say, like, seeing, it might be child pornography and or murders and things, and it's like... Where do you like, at 5 o'clock, it's like, see you later.
Yeah, because once you've seen...
You surely go and be like, fuck, man,
100%,
that was bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what have you seen, like, today? Like, you think, like, because anything, like, realistically, anything you see, any memory you have, somewhere is in your mind. It's like people, they used to advertise back in the day in a certain way where it's like, you'd get, like, an advert flash to you quickly. And then because that would actually make people think a bit later. So imagine you're sitting there watching videos of terrible stuff all the time. Like it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard not to have that come up in your thoughts later. You might be sitting there trying to dampen it, but that's not something I could do, to be honest with you.
Not at all.
No, definitely not. So just to ask as well. So obviously through Matador, you sort of connected with us, right? What was it that sort of attracted you to the Chaps Chat podcast?
Well, at the point at which they introduced me to you guys, I don't think that episode had been published at that point.
Okay.
So I hadn't seen their episode. I saw some of your other episodes, and it looked great what you guys are doing. Like it's a really nice podcast, and the issues you talk about are important issues, and it resonated with the work that I've been doing as well on social media. There's that aspect, and there's also the aspect that I've never been on a podcast before, so I was like, this will be cool.
Yeah. I think once you first do a podcast, like when we first done it, I don't know, I was shit scared, to be honest with you, do you know what I mean? But once you like get into the flow of things, I think it's just like, it's cool. It's just a conversation, a podcast, that's it.
Because I just, like, I always say this, but I just don't feel like, obviously we post it, but it's like, when I'm in here speaking, it's not in my mind that anyone's actually going to see this, do you know what I mean? Which I think is a good thing, because then you just get all, like, authenticity with it.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, Nick can pronounce that then. But since we started, like, I'm sure you see it on your side as well, like, you just learn so much about mental health. Like I feel like I probably learned more doing the podcast than I actually did from therapy myself, just because we touched on so many different issues, and don't get me wrong, I like to learn a lot from therapy too, but it's great to do it, and I think we're in a time where there is real change needed in mental health in this country, and it's like we spoke about what we think I guess could be changed. I think number one thing is funding that's needed. Unfortunately, most circumstances now when it comes to public services, if there's change needed, but for a negative reason, it's usually they need more funding to do stuff. Not always. There's obviously other reasons within that too, but it doesn't seem like the mental health or the NHS as a whole is getting much more funding at the moment from the government. That might change hopefully, but always like to ask the guests we have on, just because naturally everyone's got quite an individual view of mental health from their own side with our own experiences. Just wanted to see, I guess, what you felt like could be changed in the country to kind of put mental health in a bit more of a positive state than where it is.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough question, and I'm definitely not an expert, so the only real perspective or position I can answer that question from is the conversations that I've been having with young people. And to be honest with you, some of the conversations, like, they're a bit bleak, because it feels like, particularly for young people, but for everyone as well, a lot of the difficulties that they're facing stem from issues that are really like embedded like within society, because I think not everyone I spoke with was experiencing mental health problems. However, almost everyone was experiencing a lot of stress, like anxiety, sort of confusion about the state of the world and the future. And I think that a lot of that stems from the fact that the world now is just such a volatile, unpredictable, like complex place. And I think a lot of these issues are really deeply embedded. Every young person I spoke with was like uncertain about the future, uncertain about where they were going to be in society in the future. You know, if you think of all of the issues that are happening, just even recently, like climate change is probably the main one. So many young people are anxious about climate change. You know, there's nothing we can do about that unless we fix the state of the environment, or at least have some kind of clarity on where the world is going to be. And with like the pandemics, you know, the future of work with AI, like even with like ChatGPT coming out, like, yeah, it's a great technology, but like, what's that going to mean for me and my job and all the rest of it? There's so much, you know, in culture as well. Like people, you know, like where do you stand on cultural issues? People like Andrew Tate and like Jordan Peterson and all of these guys and the issues that they represent. Like that really appeals to a lot of people, but these are complicated issues. And I think that a lot of the issues that young people have now, this sense of anxiety, not knowing about where they sit in the world, not knowing about the future, it stems from all this like insanely complex world that we're living in. And like I don't really know if there are fixes for that. Like I think one reaction that I've seen among young people, are you guys familiar with the idea of slow living?
No.
So it's this idea that the world is too complex, it's too fast paced, there's too much going on. So what we're going to do instead is take a step back from that and, you know, leave the technology to one side, you know, go outdoors, engage more in nature, enjoy the natural world, and not even think about the future, because who the fuck knows what's going to happen in 10 years time, and just engage with like the present moment. And like, to be honest with you, yeah, it does. Like I think that to me is probably one of the main fixes that perhaps isn't actually talked about enough, but just basically kind of taking a step back from the complexity of the world and engaging more in the present moment and with nature.
Yeah, because really and truthfully, like we've got everything that we need. Like you got to think, right? Like people, like depending on what religion, any religion right out there, they've all got a story of creation. And then like I'm not a massively religious person. I'm very spiritual, but in that sense, that in the story of any creation and religion, they're going to speak about God being all powerful, whatever, giving what you need in the world. So like create the sky, create the sun, create the water, whatever. So would you think that we would not have everything that we need here? Naturally, how did people live up until this point without all the technology? But all this technology and stuff, it's all kind of facilitating each other, just because at the end of the day, like, I recruit for technology. So me recruiting for technology is facilitating the use of more technology, which in turn makes more jobs needed, which in a sense is good because people need money. But it's all coming back to this thing of money really that's driving everything, in the sense of like what people are doing. Because most people are stressed just because, yeah, they're going to worry about where they're going to be in, 10 years. But if you break that down, what are they worried about where they're going to be in 10 years? Are they going to be worried about what they have? Or are they going to be worried about how they're feeling in 10 years?
Yeah.
Or are they going to be correlating how they're feeling, what they have to how they're feeling? Because at the end of the day, it's like, for me, I used to be someone who worried a lot and had severe anxiety, but like, I would only be really worried about something now if like something happened in front of me or to make me worried, or if there was a certain scenario. I find and again, it's more easier said than done, but to worry about uncertainty, similar to what you said earlier, and something that's on the horizon that no one knows, I think that's like you're worrying about something that's completely out of your control, and you should only worry about, that's wrong, not to only worry about stuff, but you can only affect what's in your control. So outside of that, you shouldn't be, for me personally, I wouldn't worry about anything else, just because you're not going to be able to change it regardless. And it's like sometimes when you just say this stuff logically, it's like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think it does make sense to invest your energies in dealing with things within your control in the present moment. But it is also difficult to escape the fact that the world is now like so unpredictable. It's more like our futures aren't even guaranteed. Like,
Have they ever been though?
I think more so than now. I think any generation up until this point could take for granted the fact that by the time that they were 80 or 90 or ready to die, the world is still going to be in one piece. Like now, I don't think we can take that assumption for granted. Like I don't actually think that the future, and this is the issue that young people especially are faced with now. Like this whole climate anxiety is the fact that we don't know where the world is going to be. And actually, like I think it's really telling that another thing that I found chatting to young people is actually in a lot of cases their like bar for their future is incredibly low compared to what it might have been like 10, 20 years ago. What the standard that they want to meet is like basic financial security and happiness and a job. Like that's it. And if they can meet that standard, they're going to be happy. I think that's really telling.
I think so. Yeah, I mean that's how I think. To be honest with you.
Yeah, well, you're worried about like climate change stuff like that.
No, not so much. I don't really like. To be honest, the way that I look at things in regards to like the climate change and the world and things is like a lot of things are out of our control.
I'll be honest with you personally. I think it's sorry to interrupt you.
That's
mate.
right. Go on.
I'm just like I'm someone who's not looked in massively to that, but like because I saw a lot about climate change and like in my job I see a lot of companies like looking like they call it sustainability and like looking at like what their carbon footprint is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like. I'm not a historian. I don't know the full details of this, but the Earth was in an ice age before, so doesn't it? And the Earth's been hotter than it has now, many times.
Yeah, but what happened during the Ice Age?
Well, it all froze over.
Yeah, and many species went extinct.
Yeah, I know, but for me, I just think like the Earth's going to go through cycles. We're here now. Well, there'll be a time that we're not here. Probably it's the way it's always been. And on the last generation,
I fully agree.
They've been through World War II. We've got stuff going on now. What about like
this is exactly what I was just going to say.
Like, for me personally, I think we got it quite nice now.
We haven't got it the worst.
Everything's quite accessible. We don't have to worry about really in countries like this. Majority of people don't have to worry about food.
Yeah.
Like even in developing countries, there's imagine like when in the medieval times,
Well, I think
being like some knight just comes across and lobs your head off with a like that's a very outlandish statement, right?
But imagine actually they announced World War III right now.
So, yeah.
Like, that would be that's where millions of people die.
Generally, it's going to be worrying though.
Crazy.
I think generally it's going to be worrying, but my point is I just don't think that like we're in some state now where the world hasn't been before. I think there's always been some sort of chaos going on, but like generally that's just my perspective. I'm not saying that's.
I just think right now, I do feel like we're in a time where it's very unpredictable what's going to happen, and definitely. I think that's the uncertainty, and where as you said, like a lot of people are anxious about. Because there is a lot of shit going on at the minute, there is, and nothing's been like we just come out of a lockdown. You know what for? Like what was really going on?
And that's the fucking hell.
Fucking Ukraine and Russia are having a war at the minute.
They just gave
he's
jets
threatening
the other day.
about
That worried
nukes
me.
and things. Like, imagine a nuke went off. That's it. See you later. Bye.
Do you know what worried me the other day? Generally, I saw and I was thinking because like that's the only thing I thought about is that war and it's escalating to the point where it's a nuclear war. And I thought, well, they like naturally we need to help the people there, so it's difficult. But then they just gave them like fighter jets to stuff, and they're putting in the news. Are they going to now go and bomb Russia? And I was thinking like. At the end of I don't know. There's a lot of wars going on in Africa that they're not getting involved in. Do you know what I mean? I'll say that as well.
No, of course.
So it's like, it's a bit of a difficult one. You don't really want to say the wrong thing on that subject.
Obviously, but like NATO and things like that. Yeah. So like obviously like Ukraine. If Ukraine don't fight back, I know we're getting off subject again, but if they don't, if they don't fight back, then Russia are obviously gonna take over that land.
Yeah. And I think to bring things back to what we were saying before as well. Like I think you're right. Like the world has gone through some truly like difficult periods. I mean, if you go back far enough, like there have been like mass extinctions, haven't they? I mean, I would hope that doesn't happen. Like that's not
never been a pessimist.
Yeah, exactly. Like if that's all we're trying to not achieve, but but at the same time, I think there is something unique about our situation now. Like maybe the standard of living is great. Like we're not going to get like beheaded by some barbarian tribe. True. But I think what's unique about this situation now is the complexity of it. Like, I think, even when you were living through, like, the medieval period when there were, like, warring tribes and you could die at the age of 30 from disease or from war or whatever it is, at least you had a sense of what the situation is. Like, now no one knows anything. Like, with technology, like with AI, like with politics, with wars, like with like the state of information and misinformation, like no one understands anything. Like, and I don't know what the future is going to be like in 10 years. Like the only thing that I don't know about you guys, but the only thing that I'm focused, it's like what you said. The only thing I'm focused on right now is just making the best of the present, because who knows where we're going to be in 10 years.
Like for me personally, like I'm someone who I retreat inwards in scenarios. It's like. I have an image in my head right now where it's like, let's say, if you ever seen the photo of like the monk who set himself on fire, or someone who, like a war could be just going on around you, you might just be sitting there. Because at the end of the day, like, if we break it, like, it's just not. I just don't see the worry element in it. Like, it's just like I just think life's always uncertain to a certain extent. There is a lot of chaotic stuff going on at the moment, maybe more than the lives of young people that have. Like in my life, there's probably a more chaotic period now than what I'm used to. But I just feel like if you can kind of have some element of balance, like that these things are going on, again, back to that point that is out of your control. Like, why would you worry about something that you can't change? You know, it's like well, that's the wrong way to put it. I understand why you would worry, but it's like it's difficult. Like, there's no action you can do to get out of that situation.
That's really why I don't worry about it, because there's world leaders, there's people that sit in chairs that make decisions that whatever you say they'll go against anyway. And that's why I like things like when it comes to voting and things, I don't vote, which is not the greatest thing, but I don't, because I don't care really. That's the truth of it. And I just think, like, for your own life, like in this year that we're in, or in this sort of generation, you do have to be selfish sometimes and worry about you.
Yeah.
And I think you do. And it might sound like, you know, a bit not nice, but it's like, but everyone else is worrying about themselves. So like you have to do it as well. And the only way that you can do that is by just focusing on what you need and what's essential to you and what makes you happy in that life. Once you got happiness, everything can be kicking off around you. You're just like, okay, no worries. You know what I mean? Like, cool. And that's it. But to get to that, you got to go through it. You got to you've really got to train your mind. So like, obviously, I'm glad that I'm at that stage. But obviously, you're right. You got to worry about people's futures and things as well. So I completely understand your side of things too.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think what you're saying about training your mind is very much the case. Like, I think a lot of people recognize on like a conscious level, like what makes them happy and what they should be doing. I think everyone would recognize the fact that worrying about, you know, nuclear war or climate change, stuff that's completely out of their control, like, I think they would recognize that that's a silly thing to do. However, then taking that next step to actually truly like internalize that and not actually get anxious about it when the time comes, I think is difficult, and you 100%. Do have to train yourself.
You do. Also, what doesn't help is we're fed constantly that type of like stuff that may put you on edge. Like, I don't really watch the news. Like you said, there's a lot of misinformation anyway, which is the main reason I don't watch. But there's a lot less positive stuff that you see in that sense. Like if I watched the news, it would probably make me worried. It wouldn't make me worried, but I could see why that would be worrying to some people, like the information that's out there. But it is a difficult one on that side, and at the end of the day, everyone's individually allowed to feel how they want to feel about any scenario. Yeah. So, and the only reason I say what I said a minute ago is just like to try and build a bit of a stronger mindset, just because worrying about stuff like that will be taking away your energy from maybe putting stuff that you want to action in your life, or stuff that actually maybe needs your attention in your own life. You know, so it can be difficult to kind of give yourself to other things if you're not 100% yourself. Yeah. But yeah.
But listen, there is one thing that can obviously help with your worries and anxiety.
Ashwagandha
gummies. Yeah, there you go. But generally, like I take them, and like they're not the only supplements I take, but they're probably one of the ones where I know that's used in Ayurvedic medicine, where it's like I don't know if I'm going to give the best definition on that. Do you have a definition for Ayurvedic medicine, or sorry, stick it on you?
Yeah, cheers, mate. I would just describe it as like traditional Indian medicine.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, because I think naturally we're thinking about like the side of actually the product and to help people, which is great with stress and that side. But I think a lot, like I work in quite like a fairly stressful job, whereas like I work for a business, but you kind of have to run your kind of area like your own business sort of, and that can get stressful sometimes. So I mean, obviously I know you're obviously managing this on your own, so how are you feeling doing this, you know? Have you been getting stressed doing it yourself?
I mean, yeah, of course. I've definitely experienced intense bouts of stress here and there. I think generally, like, you've caught me at a good time. Like, now I've been focusing a bit more on sales recently, and actually the best feeling you're going to get is just knowing that there's like money coming into the business. But for a long time it wasn't like that. Like it's been great in general. Like I've really felt as though like I've had a sense of purpose. But yeah, no, like a lot of it has been really hard. You know, it's that like I think like the worst feelings have come when things like that you were expecting were going to happen don't end up happening. Like I was in long discussions with an investor for quite a long time, and then that didn't materialize, and everything seemed like it was just going to shit, and the company was like leaking money, and it's really tough. Like that definitely like takes its toll, for sure.
And what? Sorry.
Yeah, it is. I can imagine that it's a lot of strain, obviously, but like as you said earlier, like you need to make mistakes to be able to learn and you know grow your business. So I feel like just stick at it. Obviously, probably put you down in the dumps and things sometimes, but as you said, no, like it's a good time. The sales are coming in, so all that hard work and all that shit that you've had to go through is obviously paying off. So
Yeah.
just keep at it. Obviously, your brand is amazing. What you do, what you stand for is amazing as well. And yeah, you're a really cool guy. So yeah, I obviously wish you the best and I hope that it goes really well for you in the future.
Yeah, great.
And
Appreciate
like,
it.
just off the back of that, like going through that stress, manage your own business, like that's something I think like definitely, I don't know, like that's definitely something I've thought about at different points in my life or something and working towards in certain areas. But like there's a lot of young people out there that now we have all this flexibility in the world. Sorry, there's a fly flying by my face. I had to give it a little slap. Get away.
What time are we going to, by the way, guys? Just so
Just going to wrap it up now. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the last question.
Oh,
now,
okay,
about
yeah.
advice
Cool.
and that.
Cool.
So yeah, fucking this fly, man. Fucking hate them. But yeah, so I know I'll just start that one again, and then we can crop it out. All right. So yeah, I know in terms of kind of managing stress, like even in the environment with my work, you have to manage your stress quite a lot. And I know from before I was in that scenario, I didn't really have any tools to be able to do that. So I guess I would ask you, like, what advice would you have for young people that do want to go down that entrepreneurial path themselves and maybe finding that a little bit stressful or difficult to get started?
Yeah, well, I mean, my first generic piece of advice is just get started.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, it seems obvious, but there is never a perfect time to do this. I think there are some people who are, like, constantly waiting for that perfect moment to quit their job, to start the business, to do something. You need to just start, because I think probably the main learning I've had doing all of this is that it's a messy process and it's a trial and error process. It's not you sit down with a piece of paper, you write out a step-by-step plan, and then you follow that plan. Actually, it's not intellectual at all. Like, I don't think to do what I'm doing, you have to be smart. Like, all you need to do is be someone who's willing to try lots of different things and just learn. That's it. That's the only intelligence you need is learning when you make a mistake, and also like the wisdom to recognize which way forward is the right way forward. If you're faced with a juncture, do you take path A or path B? You don't have to know what this path is going to be ahead of time. So just start, just make decisions, be happy to make mistakes, you know, don't just take it on the chin, and keep going. And you need that mindset of just like pure perseverance. It will be stressful, but honestly, like, I think the best coping mechanism I've had from stress, apart from like the general stuff of just keeping my physical health, going to the gym, getting good sleep, all the rest of it, is just learning to like just take it on the chin and just to keep pushing, and knowing that every single person who's doing what I'm doing has experienced exactly the same thing. They've experienced multiple failures, and you just have to keep pushing through it.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Definitely.
Well, amazing advice. Just for the viewers as well, can you tell us your social medias and your website where they can find you?
Yeah, so the website is heyzooma.com, HEYZOOMA.com. The social media handle at the moment is Zooma with 3 underscores, which is a pretty rubbish handle. I will probably change it at some point, but yeah, that's where you can find it at the moment.
Cool. Well, that's it. Zooma, he started his own brand. Obviously, it's a great brand. It's very good for your well-being, your mental health, and obviously he's pushing in the right direction to try and help you guys. So make sure you check him out. Make sure you support him and do everything you can to make his business and his journey the best that it can be. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks so much. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
Appreciate it a lot. Very, very controversial podcast. It was great.
We're gonna have to censor some of this
climate
out.
change, the war, what the God.
NATO.
It was
I've
good,
been watching too many videos.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it's nice to chat. Obviously, it's good to just have discussions, and
Definitely.
that's what we're about. So yeah,
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it,
Very much so.
and hopefully look forward to seeing you in the future soon.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah,
Cool.
we'll obviously put all your social media links and that on the video as well, so that if anyone wants to go and obviously buy some of the gummies, please go and do that via the links below the video. But yeah, it's been really great having you on, mate. So this has been Chaps Chat with me, Dom,
Me, Ollie.
and our mate Leo.
Bye,
See you
guys.
later, guys.